Rising Through Turmoil by Brian Smyers. Here it is 5 years later, and I have decided to start this project anew. Trump has been elected for a second time and has already issued a flurry of executive orders and brought in Elon Musk to shake up government and apparently strip it down to its core. While this is a stressful experience for this liberal, it should be known that my personal experience over the last few years has taught me that when stressful things happen, you can make a decision over how it is going to affect you. Will you let your circumstances dictate your outcomes? Will you be a victim of forces beyond your control? There are many reasons why this can happen. The dissolution of USAID has a family member of mine stressed out because they work in a nonprofit mental health agency. Their employer depends on grant money, and they fear for their job and the welfare of their patients. Multiple family members and friends I have did or do work in government either directly or indirectly as a contractor. The upcoming government shutdown looks to be a long one, as Democrats will be standing up defending the power of the institution of Congress against the overreach of the executive. Once again, they potentially will not get paid. They are worried about their contracts being cut and their positions being potentially terminated. We are all taking it one day at a time, uncertain of what tomorrow will bring. On a personal level, I've been dealing with an important issue of my own. About 2 years ago, I was playing tennis, and the lines on the court started disappearing. It was initially diagnosed as an ocular migraine. However, the phenomena was confined to my left eye. About 2 weeks after that, I was watching TV on the couch, and all of a sudden, my left eye spontaneously filled with floaters. I've had 3 surgeries since. One to reattach the retina and fill the eye with oil. Second, to remove the oil, secure the retina, and then fill my eye with gas. The third one was yesterday, to remove the cataract that formed in my left eye. The final surgery was a complicated one, as the cataract had spread to the capsule around the lens as well and could not be fully removed. The surgery lasted an hour, which is abnormally long for cataract surgery, which usually only takes 15 to 20 minutes. And as I write this, I really don't know if I will see out of my left eye ever again. This has been going on for about 2 years. And at the beginning of the process, I realized I had a choice in front of me. Am I going to let this rule me? Or am I going to approach the situation with positivity, humor, and gratefulness? I chose the latter. My doctors have opened offices on off days to see me. My family has supported me. I have also strived not to let this handicap me. I still play hard and beat my friends at tennis. Depth perception be damned. I am grateful for all the support I have had, and even have become more grateful for this happening to me. It has allowed me to find what strength I had that I did not know, and has also taught me that I am capable of overcoming significant obstacles in my life. People have told me that I am an inspiration to them in how I deal with this. What they do not realize is that their love, support, friendship, and time have empowered me to have this attitude. And in short, they have inspired me. So in these turbulent times that are before us, with all the uncertainties of the incoming administration, we need to strengthen our bonds in our families and our friendships. Our relationships must become stronger, whether they be colleagues or coworkers. We must build a community of support. If we can reform our nation from the ground up with an empathy first point of view of our neighbor, we can rise. Midnight is when the day begins. So long as we work for the dawn will arrive, and the day will begin anew. Here we go.
So we're live.
We are live. Well, recorded live.
Live recorded, yes.
We are alive, anyway.
For the time being.
So, my friend Julius has read the article and listened to it. So now he's going to interview me. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Brian, before we break into the article, I just want to kind of like set up some background, because you and I have had a lot of discussions just about this project in general, how you got to this point, and I think it's important to kind of recall some of those reasons, because you list out some reasons here for why we want to why we want to bring continue the Ascendant project,
right?
But these are much more current, than and so you talk about wanting to do this 5 years ago. What were your reasons then?
Well, actually, if you read the textbook, the previous post was made for 5 years ago, and I kept it.
Yep.
So 5 years ago, it was leading into we're the beginning of Trump. It was just before the George Floyd murder occurred. And I was getting involved with an organization called Braver Angels.
Right.
And we tried doing some lessons amongst our friends, and it nearly ended friendships.
Yeah. Had some rough times, for sure.
And political discussions and alcohol never mix. That's the lesson I think we learned.
Yeah.
And it's... I hate losing friendships, and there's a part of me that always wants peace. Even though we can't always have peace. I'm always trying for that. And as far as now goes, it's occurred to me that I am interested more in Germany 1947 than I am interested in Germany 1932. So I am always interested in what comes after. One of my guilty pleasures is learning about cults, and I'm always interested in the cult members' lives 5-10 years after the cults collapsed. How are they going on with their life? Have they, how do they live with themselves, and how do they repair relationships? And I am really more interested in that. And I know right now is not necessarily the season for that. Right now it's the season for division. But, tomorrow will come. 1947 came for Germany. Whether we go to civil war or not doesn't really freaking matter. We have to come together eventually, either way. So, I am more interested in bridging difference, and that I really think is more likely to happen if we understand each other's stories, because our stories drive our politics. And with the interviews, like that's what the articles will be about, is our stories driving our politics. And I'm hoping that with our interviews, it'll be shown how our politics also affect our stories. So, there's a relationship there, and we can't be a victim to all of it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So great. Great response. I think the thing that that you brought up in your response just then, which I see kind of played out in the article, you talked a little bit about being, or you mentioned it being like the season for division. But there's kind of a contrast here in your writing where there are a lot of ties that bind us, so to speak. There's I'll skip around. So talk to me. You mentioned your family member that's stressed out about the dissolution of USAID.
Yeah.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about that relationship? Or
in the end, they work for a nonprofit. And I don't want to name names or really name the relationships, but they work for a nonprofit, and their employer, a good chunk of the funds come from grants from the government. And so, USAID isn't just about overseas and isn't just about foreign policy. It also did domestic work too. Um, and right now the funding's restored, but we don't know what tomorrow will bring in terms of that in the short term.
But there's certainly like a connection there.
Yeah, because without
and
if their employer does not have funding, they might not have a job.
right.
And they are a very empathetic person, and so they are worried about the patients that they interact with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that they see, so they see pain in society already, and they're trying to help ease that, and the money's might be going away for that, and it's very, very stressing, and leads to a darker world, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. There's also the you go in some depth into the situation with your eye, and your struggle to understand what that might mean for your future self.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it you do talk about how you don't expect it to be disabling in any way, but there is definitely some uncertainty there. In any case, you talked about the how you've had the surgeries, and you've had doctors come in on their days off. I'm kind of like looking through the article. I'm trying to remember where that was. Yeah, my doctors have opened offices on off days to see me. So there's more like just connections between you and society there.
Yeah, the love and support and care that I've gotten professionally and personally from my doctors and my family, my friends. In the end, I guess I was trying to make an analogy there, and that if that love and support can carry me through a crisis, really that love and support on a massive scale should be able to carry us through this crisis. So, and I know most people don't, like half the people don't think that this is a crisis, that they've wanted a strong man for decades. But for me, it is. And I think there's definitely going to be a lot of damage done. But together we all can make a difference. And, and in our relationships, I think is the beginning of what's to come.
Yeah. So, okay. So great segue into my next question. So you talked about a lot of the flurry of executive orders. Are there any that you could say have like personally or directly affected you?
Not quite yet. But with the nonprofit relationship, that's somebody I care about deeply. So if it affects that person, then it affects me.
Fair enough.
And it's only a matter of time. Like during the time of this interview, Musk and Doge have moved on to NASA, and I imagine defense industry and Intel will be next. So that could totally affect contracts. Because keep in mind, if they're cutting government, that's putting more stress on the contractors, and any government person who's on a contract, who's managing the contract, will be saying, if we can't do that, you can't do that to the contractors. And so there's a good chance since telework's going away for government, well, that's probably going to go away for the contractors too. So that's going to affect my family, and that's going to affect my friends, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and with a lot of uncertainty, comes a little bit of anxiety, and so yeah, I do feel it.
Okay, so for a second. I had a question, but I have to recall now. So okay, but yeah, a lot of those are, I'll say, indirect influences. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's still obviously a lot of connections there between you and everything that's happening in the world, right?
Right.
So, I'll challenge you a little bit. And since you said it was since you said it was the season for division,
Mm-hmm.
can you would you reevaluate that? Like, what is your, do you want to elaborate more on what you mean by, the season for division? Like, there's still very much a lot to connect you to everyone else. There's certainly a lot of people who, whether they wanted these executive orders or not, like, they're being affected in the same ways that we are.
Well, not all of them. Like, I do have another family member who they flew their flag upside down when Biden was elected. And that family is pretty conservative, and they're pretty pro Trump, and we don't discuss politics. I sent them a note saying, hey, just so you know, everybody's stressed out over here over everything. But I didn't want to start a political conversation. I'm just saying this is how this is affecting us. Just a heads up. And it's as deeply rooted as my perspective is in me. Their perspective is rooted in theirs as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard to find common ground, even in the same families. Because the moment that an insult is perceived, and insults can be thrown around in families pretty easily, you lose the battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead. Keep going.
All right. So kind of like bringing this around a little bit to kind of like bringing it back to your thesis, to where you decide how you rise to the occasion or take on the moment. Like, there's certainly like a lot of we'll say external influences that can drive that, right?
Yes.
And you've selected 3 of them, as the kind of like maybe the I don't know if were these just like the ones that like first came to mind, or would you say there's others that like?
What sure you're talking about?
So you have 3. So the 3 being the effect on your family member,
Mm-hmm.
their
Yeah.
and the dissolution of USAID, your eye,
Yeah.
right, as being the second, and then just the third, and this kind of relates to the first one, but just the dealing with the executive orders
Mm-hmm.
in general, and how all of that's influencing your I guess do you feel like this is a time when we're being called to, maybe call to arms is a little too inflammatory or extreme, but
Right.
like, do you feel
Call to
like
action.
this is a call to action? Yeah, this is a time when we're being called to action.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably is. But and this is the thing. I mean, I am not 100% certain that everybody has to act. I mean, I know that the people who want you to act, like want everybody to act.
Right.
Because there's power in numbers, and there's organization that can occur, et cetera, et cetera. But I also know that the more, like, once again, once an insult is perceived, the other side just digs in all the more. So I do believe there needs to be a class of people who can bridge the gap.
Are you that person?
I would love to be.
Yeah.
This is kind of training, if you will. Organizations like Braver Angels are the training. Mm-hmm. They offer workshops in how to have a positive political discussion. You know, they do things like, okay, they'll take an issue like gun control, and they'll have what they call a red, which would be a conservative, argue the liberal position, and they'll have the liberal argue the conservative position. They'll have them go back face to face, and then what that does is it allows you to realize how much you talk in stereotypes and not necessarily facts. Mm. And when you're talking in stereotypes, that's very inflammatory. In the end, I mean, you don't make peace with your friends. You have peace with your friends. You make peace with your enemies. And there has to be a group of peacemakers to allow that to happen. So although there is a time of strife and conflict, I hope to God it's not kinetic. But I mean, there's definitely a period of conflict, you know, coming in some way, shape, or form. There has to be a period of peace. And I want to be working towards that period of peace. And might simply be, you know, the year or two I was with Quakers, and that's still part of me. I don't know. But I really feel that, you know, there is such a thing as righteous anger, but there still is always a need for reconciliation in the end. And I might be naive in that, but yeah, there needs to be reconciliation, because once again, you take a look at, there's not enough studies on Germany in 1947, how people came back together, mm-hmm. how people functioned as a country after what they did, after right. Hitler had gotten like a 91% approval rating and they killed 6 million Jews. They still had to come together after what the hell they've done. You know, it's, you know, I would like to, I need to learn more about, you know, Rwanda in the year 2000, you know, I mean, where these atrocities have occurred, but you still have to function afterwards. And how did they do that? You know, if we can learn those lessons of reconciliation, and if we can learn those lessons of loving your enemies, really when it comes down to it, loving your enemies, I think we could go far in terms of making a difference, a positive difference in this nation. But, okay. Yeah. But okay. It can't just be about me. It needs to be a freaking movement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where I, you know, what I'm trying to connect, I don't know, for you, but connect with you is, you know, kind of like in your initial response, it was, you know, it was a little bit more, there's definitely this is definitely a divisive period. But I think what I'm seeing from your text is there's a lot of people in the background that you connect to, and you're not necessarily connecting to them on a political level, but yeah, you're certainly connected to them in some way. And, you know, here we are, all of us in this together. Yeah. You know, some of us maybe wanted to be here, some of us maybe didn't, but I can certainly appreciate, you know, what you're saying, that you want this to be, you want to be a kind of joining force. Yeah. And I do think I see that expressed in some sense in the article. So
I don't know why this isn't coming through our earphones.
I'm not hearing it either.
Hopefully we're getting a good mix.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't really have any more questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Not really. Where are we at? We're at like 10 minutes already. You know,
Time flies, man.
4 times longer than the article.
Yep.
So, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
And of course, you know, this means one thing, right?
Yes. Now I have to face the gauntlet.
Yeah, you got to write the article.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yep.